Hi, I'm Larry Menti. Welcome to Jersey Matters. Hurricane Sandy, the state is still recovering. It's not just homes and businesses along the Jersey coastline that are trying to recover, but historic areas and national parks. And here to talk more about that is Jen Nersesian, who is the superintendent of the Gateway National Recreation Area. And for New Jersey, that means Sandy Hook, but it's not just Sandy Hook.
That's right. We stretch from Sandy Hook in New Jersey to sites in Staten Island and all of Jamaica Bay in New York City.
And did they all got hit by Sandy?
Absolutely, yeah.
In New Jersey, the area that you're looking at also includes the fort, right? Fort?
Yes.
Okay. And so how much damage was done just where you are from Hurricane Sandy, and how far have you come in recovering?
Sandy Hook, I mean, like most of the Jersey Shore, took on a tremendous amount of damage. We were able to get the beach back open and operating the following summer, but we're still looking at another year or two of work, recovery work from Hurricane Sandy. I mean, immediately after the hurricane, we had 4 to 8 feet of sand on the roads. You know, there was 13 feet of water that took a really long time to recede in certain places. And so just the immediate recovery effort of being able to open the beach back up was a really Herculean effort. But we made it that far, and now we're looking at things like restoration of some of the buildings and doing it in a more resilient and thoughtful manner, preparing better for the future. With climate change and increased frequency and intensity of storms, sea level rise, building in a way that we're going to withstand that.
So not only restoration, and I assume some of these are historic buildings you're talking
absolutely,
about.
Yeah.
Not only restoring them, but making them better.
Yes.
And making them be able to stand up to the next hurricane.
Absolutely, Sandy. Building back stronger. And, you know, not just buildings, but looking at our utility infrastructure, our sewage treatment, communication lines, the beach centers that everybody loves. All of those things are still undergoing renovation and rehabilitation from the hurricane.
So this is all work that still has to be done. You're part of the National Park Service. You would think of anybody, you'd get the money, you'd have federal money.
We do have a lot of money going towards the recovery work. Gateway as a whole, I mean, we've received somewhere in the vicinity of $165, $175 million for recovery work. It was just a tremendous amount of damage that was done, and it takes a lot of time and effort, you know, and years worth of work to get it all on the ground.
And that's why I understand you were looking for a private partnership too, or some private money as well. And that's because the federal money's not going to go far enough?
Well, beyond the Hurricane Sandy damage, there's a lot of restoration work that needs to take place out at Fort Hancock. We have, you know, it's a World War II military installation, and actually before. I mean, the history goes back to the Revolutionary War when it was a loyalist outpost. Most of what you see now in Fort Hancock is from the late 1800s, early 1900s, and was active up through the Cold War. Around World War II, we had about 7,000 people out there. It's tremendous history. Beautiful buildings right on the ocean, gorgeous architecture, but in need of a lot of restoration work. And this goes, again, you know, it's beyond Hurricane Sandy. There's just a lot of buildings there that, you know, go beyond the needs of the park for use. And we're looking to find some outside entities to partner with who can invest in their restoration and activate the area with new uses.
If you're going to open up to businesses, if you're going to start opening up to landlords, you have to be very careful of who you accept, since it's still federal land.
Absolutely.
And that goes with some sense of responsibility. For
sure. And, you know, we set up very careful criteria that we evaluate applicants on. That includes things like, you know, what is their experience and ability with historic preservation? What kind of use are they looking for? And how complementary is that to the park mission and what we're trying to build out there? So, yeah, we're looking really very carefully on how to set up the right kind of mix of uses and the right kind of community.
Is this happening a lot? Because all you ever seem to hear about is the pushback. When somebody like Valley Forge says, wait a second, you're not going to put up condos in Valley Forge or sell any of that land. That's hallowed land. Is this happening more than we know of, and it's just we only hear about the sites where there is some pushback?
You probably hear more about the sites where there's pushback, but yeah, there are some very successful examples through the Park Service of where this has worked. Everywhere from out in San Francisco at the Presidio or Fort Mason to, you know, other places here on the East Coast, and even, you know, smaller scale things within Gateway itself. You know, we are really trying to expand this and look at new creative ways to be more entrepreneurial in how we're able to work with outside partners and bringing them in. But we think it's a model that really has a lot of legs. And again, working with the community stands a good chance of success.
Is this a forever project, trying to come back from Sandy, or do you have a goal and a timeline?
So the Sandy work should be completed within the next 2 years. The bigger restoration beyond that, and building this community and bringing in partners for larger restoration beyond just coming back from the hurricane. I mean, we want to get far beyond just repairing hurricane damage. We want a fully restored, fully activated and occupied community at Fort Hancock. And that will take some time. The RFP, we went out with an RFP a few months ago, and like I said, we're in negotiations on our first couple of leases from that. This was our pilot, so we can get our feet wet, all learn the process together and make sure we're heading in the right direction. And from here, we'll go out with more RFPs and open up more buildings for similar types of opportunities until we have them all leased and rehabilitated.
Do you have them all leased? So is there a restriction, your own restriction? I know you have a restriction on who comes in, but do you have a restriction on how much you're going to lease out, or on how much you're going to make available?
Yes.
In the, excuse the word, because I know it can have a bad connotation, in the privatization of the national park?
Certainly, the most significant historic features, like for instance, the Sandy Hook Lighthouse, we're not leasing that out. I mean, that will remain open to the public. It's the oldest continuing operating lighthouse in the United States. We just celebrated its 250th anniversary last year. Things like that will stay as they are. We're not looking to privatize park resources. Really what we're focusing on are specific buildings that right now are not occupied and not used. And really the best way to preserve a building is to use it. And so we're looking to bring in that use.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even think of that. That you may not be able to put the funds into preserving it, but certainly somebody that moves in could put those funds into preserving it, and otherwise it would start to go down.
And there are still, lots of other buildings out there that we are using, whether they be for public use, visitor center, museum type facilities, or housing for our staff, or operational uses. There are a lot of other buildings out there that we are in and using, and will stay that way too.
Great. Thank you so much for coming in. Good luck with the project.
Thank
we
you
appreciate
very
you
much.
talking to us. Jen Nersesian, who is the superintendent of Gateway National Recreation Area, which includes a lot of areas in the New York area, but in New Jersey, it is Sandy Hook. Good luck with the project.
Thanks.
We'll be right back on Jersey Matters.